I am thrilled to introduce my Direction Not Perfection community today to Dr. Valerie Evans. She's a licensed and board certified behavior analyst. She owns a continuing education business that reviews current research and best practice for behavior analysis programs. And I'm going to tell you right now, I already know we have so much in common. I have a whole chapter in my book dedicated to turning away from diet mentality, and you have developed an app that's all about turning away from diet mentality. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Lindsay. I'm so excited to be here.
Where did your passion come from for this app, for behavior, all of it?
Well, I'm a behavior analyst, which it just basically boils down to a specialized psychologist who is interested in identifying patterns of responding. And it's a very acceptance first way of understanding problems, that it's just what's happening and how do we move forward. And that's how we look at things. And it's a profession. It's a personal way of thinking too. Even still, like always was drawn to these diet apps. And actually trying to finish my dissertation to become a behavior analyst, I just kind of got stuck emotionally or motivation wise that I just needed some oomph and confidence. So I actually use diet apps. Like working on my diet app means that my life feels put together. It means that I can work on this other thing. And it always felt like I was holding it together with the diet apps, and anything could happen that could throw me off. And it never felt natural. And the thing that I finally realized in my 40s was that it was taking my focus away from my body, that I was paying less attention to myself. And I was just putting my focus and my attention on these programs that were really little more than a glorified calculator. And they weren't really helping me make new habits. And they were also at the cost of my mental health, because I was always on my phone. I was always thinking about these numbers, playing the number game, doing I had a good day or a bad day, success, failure, black and white thinking. And I just stopped. I couldn't put up with it anymore. I think it's just the wisdom as you get older. It's like, I don't have room for this in my life. I want to actually, do other things. And I also want to have outcomes that are sustainable. This isn't just a game to just, make me feel good for a few days. This is actually, I want to live a life that feels authentic to me. And the patterns of responding that are maintaining some extra weight are actually problematic in other ways, like not having a good way to handle feeling tired, or not having alternative responses for feeling stressed. So that point, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a behavior analyst. I could probably come up with a behavior analytic approach that would make a lot more sense.
Okay, for 1 second, because I want to make sure our listeners are on board with this. When you're saying diet app, it would be anything like the apps where you're just tracking food, calories, and you're saying that, man, I got way too into the number game of how many calories did I eat in the day, of did I work out, did I not? And are we following on that page? Like, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Not doing it
Okay,
for you, doing it for your app, which really isn't showing you how to do anything. It's just an accounting approach to a behavioral problem.
I'm loving this. And we talk enough about like emotional eating in this podcast as well, that this is ultimately, again, what you're talking about is we're missing the why. Like, what am I really hungry for? Is this tired eating? Is this stressed eating? Like, you didn't feel like you were paying attention to behaviors or emotions, really, right? The app was too black and white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, patterns, we're responding to cues, we're responding to triggers, and we're just trying to get through our day comfortably. And we rely on we don't even realize how many habit responses we rely on. And I like to think about, like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a 3-year-old try to put on pants. It's extremely difficult to watch because they don't have any of that, the habit of knowing what to begin with, what the steps are, rehearsing them, going through that. And you think about like something like putting on pants, like how many habits are we relying on just to get out the door in the morning? Just one after the other, just a chain of responses that have been rehearsed. It's like packing your lunch in the morning and then forgetting to take it because you put it in one spot instead of the other, because we're just trying to wake up and get out the door and get ready at the same time. So I don't think our reliance on habits can be overemphasized. And there's a lot there if we can step back and zoom out and really see the context of the patterns that we're relying on to get through our day.
So interesting. And I'm laughing out loud because I literally take a picture of my husband's lunch every day that's packed and still on the counter somewhere as he walks out the door without it. I'm like, you did it again. This is really unmotivating to do a lunch for you if you never remember it. Okay, I digress. So I'm dying to know what this looks like within your app.
There's so much to the app. It's all about engagement. And the first thing that No Way users do is they start breaking rules. And rule breaking is two parts: recognizing a pattern and then taking an opportunity to do it differently. And it's not starting a new habit. It's totally commitment free. And you recognize the typical response as you're about to do it or as you're doing it, and then do something different. And that could be anything. Like it could be related to food. It could be like an eating pattern. Like I'm not going to, take seconds, or I'm not going to, eat while I cook, or I'm not going to, have a snack at night, something like that. It could also be related to patterns regarding how we regard our own bodies. I love cardigans. They're so cozy. I just want to feel cozy and warm all day long. But then sometimes I'm wearing the cardigan maybe because I feel insecure about the way my shirt fits me, or I'm just trying to hide my body. And that's an example of an opportunity to break a rule. I could just leave it off, unless I'm cold, I could just leave it off and, do that, or tuck in your shirt, or not talk about your dissatisfaction with your body. Talk about your body in positive ways or not at all. Or even unrelated to your body, like someone asks you how your day is, focus on the positive things, decide not to get defensive when something happens and you're not sure how to react. And these are just single opportunities to do it differently. And then when you do that, you have the opportunity to experience how it feels to do it differently. Behavior analysts would say that means you're contacting natural reinforcers. And that's the whole idea, that you're changing just an architecture of responses. And that when you change something, it's immediately reinforcing and rewarding. And it fits into your life because you're inserting the program into your life as you go. So rule breaking is the first thing. Then as you go and you complete some content, you gain a lot of other functionality in the app, like morning reflection questions before bed. And the focus for weight loss is how your body feels. So you want to go to bed feeling satisfied and not full. And then leveraging things like eating fruits and vegetables, drinking water, and exercise because you just love the way it makes your body feel, not because you have to or any other reason at all. You're just following what your body wants.
Thank you. Love you already. My constant, I'm not going to say frustration, but I just feel like we forget that food can actually be pleasant. When we eat a little healthier, we feel more energized, and it all feels too simple to the person who's like, I need to lose weight and I need to lose it now.
Yeah.
That it's easy to forget, like, let's just start small with it, and these small things build on each other, and then you naturally want to continue doing it. And then I want to also rewind for a second, because I feel like one of the quotes in my kitchen is, if you change nothing, nothing will change. And I think that's kind of where you were heading with your first part of like, just switch any little habit that's already happening because there's power behind that. Like, is that ultimately what you're saying? If you start to do that, then you're building some power to make other changes. Am I hearing that right?
That's exactly right. It's called behavioral momentum.
Hmm.
And that's the whole idea. When you make little changes, you gain this motivation and you can use that anywhere you want to use it and focus it on breaking these patterns, which are hard to break. But once you recognize a pattern, then you're recognizing the cues or the triggers that get it going. And you have an opportunity there to try something different. And you're really kind of going at it from an objective observer. So you're not in it being emotionally affected. You're just thinking like, okay, I didn't want that to happen. This is like problem solving. This is what I'll try next time, or this is what worked, and this is how I'll tweak it, and going about it that way, which is a lot less threatening and a lot less frustrating.
And can we say that something, let's use your cardigan example of messing with one habit that kind of has nothing to do with, we'll call it an emotional eating response later on in the day. Like they don't necessarily have to be connected for that momentum to still benefit the other habit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because they're all moving towards the same motivation, which is I want to feel good. I want to feel better. I like to think about wanting to lose weight as like, okay, if, the good fairy came down right now and gave you an option of two wishes. One is to be your goal weight, and then the other one is to feel happy, and live a happy life. Which one do you really want? And if you picked your goal weight, would that make you happy? And if you picked being happy, would that make you your goal weight? And beginning with mental health.
Yes, and how closely those two are so connected. Thank you. That's such a great visual and example because I think a lot of people initially would be like, well, for sure, if I lose weight, then I'm going to be happy. And anyone who's been through that experience, there's a lot of times that people get to that finish line and go, why aren't I feeling the way that I thought I was going to feel when I hit this number, this weight? Where if we approach it, how you're saying we work on the emotional part, then it all gets corrected along the journey. And there's a different level of joy at the end of that, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't mean hitting the number that we think we want to hit. And I think that's like
true.
a hard concept for a lot of people to run with because they're like, no, I need to hit. And it's like, you might be very happy and joyful at this number. So I know I'm really honing in on this like starting of that, but like give us an example of a specific person, and they would obviously come in and kind of, they have their own wants, it's their own individualized journey, and then the app kind of guides them with the questions, or how do you get to your own specific journey and wants out of this?
When you're starting the app, there's just a short little questionnaire, and it asks you to pick a focus. Do you want to focus, like what's kind of on your mind? What's your first expectation going into this? Like you want to feel more motivated, you want to focus on your body more closely, or you want to focus on habit reversal. And then from there, you have 3 interactive modules that describe how to go about this with a behavior analytic point of view. And then you're also, when you finish, like they're really short and they're very interactive. And then when you finish it, you get some new functionality from the app. So that might be a new intention. We have weekly intentions, a new intention to focus on. It might be a new reflection question with the evening reflections. And then the engagement is so important. And that's achieved in a lot of different ways in the app. One thing that's coming out very soon is we'll be able to view other people's reflections, positive things that they're looking forward to in their day, things that they're doing that are working really well, responding to a weekly question, and just seeing those and hearing all the positivity that other people are providing and allowing that to lift you up. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm like bored or like transitioning or distracted or trying to distract myself, what do? You pick up your phone, right?
Yeah.
And I pick up my phone and I'm like, what's going to improve my mood though? Because if I don't have a mission when I pick up my phone, I just end up reading, celebrity news or checking things or things. So the No Way app is focused on mental health, and you'll be able to use it in a lot of different ways. And that's one of the ways. And then there's also a daily question where you just like open the app and you want to answer a question related to this approach to weight loss, a survey question. So it's about your preference. And then you can see how other people responded and feel connected, that there's other people out there doing the same thing and working towards the same problem.
I love this. So there's the community support aspect, it sounds like. And I talk a lot about curating what's around us for emotional health, that you would be part of this curated what I show up to in my day. What do I allow my ears to hear and my eyes to see that's going to benefit my journey versus, to your point, if we're not intentional, then it can end up making us walk away feeling defeated, or we get that comparison game going, and you're helping to keep us eye on the prize, eyes on our own paper, and make sure that we get to stay supported in our own, again, I keep saying individualized journey, but I think that's what's so cool about where you're going with this. There's no comparison game when you're working on your own wants and your own needs. So that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, conceptually, the whole thing is about asking how questions. How am I maintaining this weight that I'm trying to change? How is, snacking at night enhancing my life? How is it going to be if I stop? What am I not going to be doing? Like maybe we use food so many different ways, to connect with other people, to calm ourselves down, to think and focus. But there's other ways you can do that don't involve, that don't make you feel defeated when you're finished.
Right. You're coaching through it. You're allowing people to answer their own questions and get to their own results, which is amazing.
That's exactly it. I love that. Yes.
Yes. And I feel like as a dietitian on my end, to know that there's a resource out there like this is amazing, because I'm all about just offer and expose and then let people find the things that really like click in. It's their tool that works for them, goes in their tool bag, and can be pulled out as needed. So I just appreciate knowing that this exists. Where can people find the app and you, or do you just want to send people to the app?
Oh yeah, we have noway.com, and there's a blog there, so you can hear more about it from there. There's also Instagram and Facebook, but they can download the app from the App Store and the Play Store. It's available for both operating systems, and it's there right now. And there's a trial period, so it's something that you can really use as much as you want for a week and decide whether it's fitting into where you are in your journey with this problem.
That is amazing. I knew I was going to love you so much that I was like, we need to do a 2-part series with this. So we're going to wrap up part 1 right now. And as we're closing out, first of all, everything that Dr. Valerie just said will be in the show notes. So you can click on links to get to the app, to get to the No Way website. And if you could wrap your arms around our listeners today and just like one thing that you hope and pray that they heard out of you, what would that look like?
Recognize the patterns that are maintaining the way you feel that you want to change. Focus on the way you feel and recognize those patterns that are creating that feeling for you.
That's amazing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.